Good morning, everybody. We were talking and just weren't watching the clock.
Good morning.
Good to see everybody this morning. Jerry's off train watching, I think, with buddies, so he's not going to be here. And I don't know if Shannon's going to make it or not. But anyway, we got Bill and Dennis and Steve.
I'm back this week.
Yep, Mr. Steve, get off my bus. Arnold is here.
Yeah, that was.
And why don't you do the rundown?
I already run them down. You mean the kids?
Not the kids. The chat.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Running down kids on a bus.
No, not that. No. Good morning, everybody. We got John, River Valley, my buddy Bernard, Dave BNSF, Steve Anderson, Stephen Wig-Wag, John Schuylkill River Valley. We got Gail. Let's see, Almar, John Grandpa Rails. Another one here that we had a new one. Where are you? Ray at Golden Leaf Railroad. Good morning and welcome. Did I miss anybody?
Did you get Gail?
I did. I said Gail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got Gail. Rob T-Man. And I think that's it.
That's it. Well,
anyway,
we have no subject except we were talking to Bill about his trees. I just mentioned to him on his last video, he got up close to the tree, and I told him on camera, even up close, they still look real. And we were talking about tree sizes and stuff like that. But I've got the material to make them, Bill. I just haven't sat down to do it yet because I'm so busy trying to get other stuff when I can get up there. But like this week, I didn't get up and do anything because I've been down on my back. But yeah, it's getting better. So hopefully this next week I'll get some more done.
Yeah, I'm going to make a new video here probably in the next few weeks. Maybe it'll be a Thanksgiving video on just how I make the trees again, because I've refined my process, many different ways from the videos that I put out, a year and a half ago. Simplifies it, a lot of it, and it speeds it up. So I would actually make a tree quasi real time in that all of the actual time I spend to do something I would show, and then just cut away for when like the glue's drying and different things. But, to go from start to finish on one of these trees, it really doesn't take that long to actually make one. And then if you make them in batches, you can get 15 to 30 trees done easily, in just evenings during the work week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, like I say, they just look fantastic, and I'd love to see them in person, but I'm gonna try and make them myself, I guess, because you're just too far away.
Well, if I can retire anytime soon, and if I can invest, maybe get a trailer, who knows? Maybe I can come out to shows out that neck of the woods. It's not that far away.
Yeah. Well, the only decent one is Oklahoma City, and it's okay. It's because we don't have anything else. It's okay, but
right.
It's not the best train show I've ever seen. But Texas,
the only one I've ever seen.
Texas has quite a few, but I've not been to any of those down there either.
They got a lot of them on the East Coast, and then the upper Midwest, in and around Iowa. There's all kinds of shows that go on up that neck of the wood.
Oh yeah, around Chicago area and around the upper, like I say, the upper Midwest. They're real big on them. And I'd love to get up there, but it's hard to justify traveling just to go see a train show. Now, if you're taking something to sell or do something, be in the train show, that'd be one thing. But to just go look, kind of tough to justify a long road trip to go do that. But
well, I definitely
not that I would mind
the narrow gauge convention. That's kind of on my to-do list for next year. Is that?
Well, Dennis, the other thing is, have you heard Sparky's meet and greet in Greeley? I'd like to go up for that too.
And it's one of those things where I'm not sure that I can do both. And so making a decision on which one would be, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, more advantageous to me. I don't know. It's going to be a hard decision to make.
Yeah.
Love to meet everybody. But at the same time, if you do go to a train show that's not a narrow gauge train show, there's not gonna be anything there for you for the most part to spend your money on, which might actually be a good thing.
Yeah, because I think I found a few switches, a few turnouts, commercial turnouts that were narrow gauge at the Oklahoma City show. Nothing else was narrow gauge.
Yep.
It was all N scale, O scale, HO scale.
Which, you know, details, HO details you can find anywhere, but that was the only thing that tempted me but I'm not ready for details on the layout, so I'm not wanting to spend any of my hard-earned cash on something that I can't make use of right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just the opposite. I hoard all kinds of little stuff for details that I'm sure I'm never going to use, but I've got them if I ever need them.
Well, that's the way I did. Of course, I was doing all my buying on eBay because there wasn't anything around here really to buy it from. I mean, we've got a Hobby Lobby in Hobby Town, but Hobby Town's a little bit better on the train stuff. Hobby Lobby used to have more than they've got now, but they've really dropped off. But I go to Hobby Lobby to get paints, stuff like that. I've been getting plaster cloth there. It's relatively cheap. And also plaster in a bag. You know, it's the place I was getting the plaster from in New Jersey, the Plaster Guys, I think is their name. Theirs is cheaper, but it's got to be shipped to you. And I've been having trouble getting stuff shipped to me from the East. Touch toggles are getting delayed, not by touch toggles, but by shipping, by U.S. Post Office. And I love their commercial now for Christmas. Oh, from any city to any city, but it ain't going to be right away. I can vouch for that. You know, coming from Virginia, Touch Toggles guys in Virginia, they're somewhere, and it took almost 2 weeks to get a 2-day priority post box. 2 weeks.
No, I believe
and
it.
And then my backdrop stuff, this little package right here, this was the last one the last set of backdrops I got came in this, and it took 10 days, and that came from upstate New York. It said in Rochester. Well, it said it was in Rochester. It was actually in transit between, but it took 5 days to get from Rochester to Tulsa. And then, of course, it took them another 3 days to get it from wherever they bring it here to my house. So the U.S. mail system has just gotten really bad here lately, in my opinion.
It's going to be like it was last winter. You know, last Christmas, it was the same thing where it was weeks. I had stuff last year that, you know, it's tracking from the Midwest coming this way. And, you know, it would get into like the Richmond distribution center for the Postal Service. And it would sit for like 2 weeks before it would finally get to the post office local for, you know, to be delivered. It's just absolutely nuts.
And all that is somebody set it down and never bothered to look at it again for 2 weeks.
Into a pile with other stuff that wasn't being looked at until finally, you know, its turn came, or somebody's like, oh, hey, this needs to go out sometime.
Well, and it's one thing if it's going first class mail. It's another thing, or parcel post. It's another thing when it's 2-day delivery or 3-day delivery, and it takes a week or two to get to you. That's not right, because whoever sent it to you paid, or you did. If you ordered something, you paid for that to get to you, and it's not getting there. And to me, that's not right. But then what are you going to do?
I deal almost exclusively with Iron Planet Hobbies and Harris Hobbies, both of which are only one state away. And typically I get it the same week I order it. So I'm pretty lucky with that. But there's other things that, like cork. I need cork right now, and I'm going to have to put in an order for cork. I don't know how long that might take, but
you're talking about sheet cork.
Yeah.
The stuff that I got, and it's actually floor underlayment. You made comment when you were here, I think, about it looking different. It's actually floor underlayment, but it's mainly cork, but they've got other rubber parts in it and stuff like that too. But it works the same way. I got mine from Home Depot. I had to order it through Home Depot to get it.
I have a Home Depot, so that's a whole nother. Can you drop ship through Home Depot?
Yeah, they'll ship to your house.
Yeah.
Will it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find it to be more economical than the other sheet cork online?
It was there was 5 pieces, 2x3 pieces, and it was $40-something.
For all,
Now, I
for
had-
all 5 pieces or 5 pieces?
Yes, for all 5 pieces, and that was shipped to the store. But that's been about a year ago, maybe a little longer. And that was shipped to the store, so there was no shipping on it. But I want to say it was, just short of $50, I think, for that, which is not a bad price, but it's, it's not as cheap as I got the first batch that I bought.
What thickness is it?
It's 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch. That's what I've got on everything.
1/4 inch, 7 millimeter. Pretty close to that thickness. It's about the same thickness as HO Midwest cork roadbed.
Which is why I went with what I went with.
It's thicker than the narrow gauge cork that I gave you.
Right.
But it's about the same as the HO cork.
Yeah, the
I
end
could
scale
run
is
the
about
HO cork
8.
right up to it and then go right off on the sheet cork.
Yeah.
So it worked real well. But yeah, you're gonna have to order it most likely. The only other thing I could think, you might be able to find some at a flooring store. They may have some in stock, but they're again out where you're at. I don't know if Woodward's even got a flooring store.
We do. Actually, I think we have 2, as a matter of
2?
fact. Yeah.
They don't have enough floors out there to have 2 flooring stores.
They sell to each other.
Yeah, could be. And one of them may just be like a carpet tile store. And then I know we've got Boomer Carpet and Tile, and I can't remember the name of the other place. But again, it's been since I put my carpet in here. Since I've looked, they may have gone out of business, because when I went in there and saw their prices, I was like, not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, anytime you're out remote like that, you're shipping to that point, it's going to be more money, and so they got to pass it on. But yeah,
I wasn't going to pay like $2,000 to carpet my train room. So,
Bernard, those weren't rolls; those were 2x3 sheets. 1/4 inch thick, 2x3. I believe that's what they were. Real close to that, if they're not exactly that.
Yeah, I've definitely got an Ace. Ace is my go-to place for nearly anything and everything that I can find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
I
much
sure
tougher
don't have
up there.
a Home Depot or a Lowe's. The closest Lowe's to me is 85 miles, 86 miles.
Ooh, I wouldn't be able to survive that far out in the boonies.
I'm the same, Bill. I can go 6 miles over here, and I got a Lowe's sitting right next to the Home Depot.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be getting a Harbor Freight. I am really looking forward to the Harbor Freight.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Probably go there first and then to Ace for anything else I can't find.
Yeah. Yeah. Harbor
you
Freight's
have, like,
good if you go ahead,
A
Bill.
Hobby Lobby close to you?
Closest Hobby Lobby is also 86 miles away.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, yeah, Hobby Lobby, you might be able to get cork there too. They often have it, but.
Now,
That's
the
Oklahoma
advantage
City.
I have right now is my home away from home, where I'm at 4 days out of the week working. I have a Hobby Lobby that's only 17 miles away from me.
Oh, it's closer.
So I can, during my work week, if I want to hop over to Hobby Lobby, I can. But I haven't really needed anything from there recently. The last thing I got was cardboard for my mock-ups.
Yeah, I've been buying all my craft paint from there, especially when they've got it on sale. You can get it for less than $1 a bottle, and it lasts quite a while. So I've been getting a lot of that there. Steve, wake up.
Gus is looking good.
Following chat. I've been still.
Gus is hogging the screen.
He wants that. He was getting hot. I had him curled up in front of the wood stove. And
So that's a nice thing to have in your shop there in your train room, is that wood stove. Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That was a must-have when I built this thing. It's an old pot belly.
They'll run you out too if you're not careful.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, look at that fire he's got going in that thing.
Yeah, that is nice. I like
Yeah, I had Gus a little bit too close, and he's like, "Nah, I'm out of here. It's too hot."
I can have one of those out in my shop. That's a good idea. I might have to think about that.
Oh,
My
man.
dad had a cast iron stove in his
After
shop.
I get everything completed in here, as far as the bench work goes,
Yeah.
my wood holder out there, I don't know what you call it, my sheet goods and my lumber goods rack, I'll probably get rid of that just for space purposes because I don't ever foresee a need for it after I get my bench work done. And
Well,
I could put a stove right there where it's at right now.
yeah, we found this at an antique store years ago. Probably a guy built this shop in 2005, and it was for sale as a plant stand because they can't sell it as a wood stove because it doesn't meet the requirements for,
Right.
Yeah.
It's a plant stand.
My dad had a real nice one in a home. My dad's owned 2 or 3 different houses right here where I live at, and sold that last one. There was a really nice pot-bellied stove in it that I would have loved to have had, but he sold it with the house.
Well,
Bernard was telling Gail it's 300 miles to anywhere, for anything, but he loves it. Well, that except gambling, Bernard. You got gambling right down the street from you.
That's true.
Bernard's in Elko, Nevada. So I know he's got a casino just down the road from him.
Yeah, he was Bernard was, and he wants to do Medford and Crane Mountain. You better do it, Bernard. Yeah. And there's an airport you can fly in here. Yeah.
Yeah, Train Mountains. If you're anywhere close out there, you got to go Train Mountain because just to go see it, even if you don't get to ride on it, it's crazy. It really is crazy all the stuff they've got there.
Well, I'll tell you, if we'd have delayed that whole thing about a week, I had that thing running a week after the triennial. So it's too bad that it wasn't quite running for you when you got there, Claude.
Well, I got to see it run. You ran it a little bit, backed it out of the bay.
Yeah, a whole 30 feet, I think. Backwards.
Well, is what it is.
Steve says Medford is volcano land. No, not really. We don't have any volcanoes.
Yeah, you do.
Well, nothing active.
You're just north of a lot of volcano activity, or had been.
Well, so Steve, he's up. What are you up near Seattle? I mean, Mountain.
Yeah, Anderson. Yeah, the whole West Coast is. Dennis has got an old volcano just west of him in northeast New Mexico. There's lava all over the place out there. It's actually pretty interesting to drive by. I've not stopped at the volcano out there, but
I haven't either.
But
Clayton, New Mexico.
Yeah, not just the other side of Clayton, New Mexico. That's how we go to Colorado, is out that way. So, but anyway, anybody else got anything going on over here in chat?
Yeah, no, nothing. What do you guys want to talk about?
Gail's griping about not being able to get food delivered. You mean the pizza boy won't run all the way to your house?
Nah.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephen, the plumber. Welcome.
Okay.
Anderson
Jeff said something. When building anything in the wood shop, instead of throwing it away, the wood chips and dust from working, you stow it away in the potbelly stove. Jeff, that's correct. My dad had not a potbelly stove, but he had a cast iron stove, wood burning stove in his shop years ago. And he was a carpenter and a house builder, and he had bought some parquet flooring, 6-inch parquet flooring from a reclaim place that had reclaimed all this. Used some of it in the house, and then what he didn't use in the house, he burnt in the stove. And you want to talk about a hot fire? Start throwing oak parquet in a cast iron stove like that. run you out.
Oh,
you want to know something that really makes a hot fire? Years ago, lived in Iowa, and we had a wood burning stove in the house. It was like an old fishing shack, a really nice rustic place. Used to go to auctions all the time, and got a box of some stuff with some glassware that we wanted, but it also had some old bowling pins. Ended up not wanting the bowling pins and put them into the fire. Holy cow, did those things get hot. We had flames shooting out of the stack above the roof. I had to quench the fire because it got too hot.
Well, you got oak surrounded with plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were the old ones. It was like the enamel paint on them, but it was just, those things burned, and boy.
Oh, they were probably solid wood ones then instead of the plastic, plastic like they've got now.
Yeah, now they were old timers, just beat up, and they burned really well.
Now, ash is another one that burns really hot because it's so dense. Makes really good coals, but you don't need much of it. Pecan burns really hot, but it burns like paper, so it'll burn up really fast.
Well, the go-to wood around here is madrone. That is really good. It burns nice, leaves good coals, and not a lot of ash. And there's a lot of it. That's really good wood to burn.
Okay, Dennis C. Bernard's hitting on Gail over here with cooking stuff. He cooks with his cast iron stove. My pottery. Oh, you have to explain that word. I don't know what that is. Edible. Baking bread as we speak. My pottery. What's a pottery?
Highfalutin. I don't know what pottery is. Potpourri? Put potpourri on the stove?
Potpourri.
It's hard to get coal and hard to find mahogany. That's my favorite. Oh, mahogany, yeah. To burn, that gets expensive.
You can't get coal.
Bodark is something that we have a lot of around here. Sometimes I hear it is really dense and burns really hot.
Well, my favorite to burn for a fire is pinyon wood, just for the smell. That's got some of the best smell. Still reminds me of going skiing, snow skiing, because Brenda and I went to Taos, New Mexico to go skiing. I think it was the year before we got married, the winter before we got married that spring. And we stayed in this little courtyard motel kind of place, and it was all adobe and stucco. And they had the little Indian fireplace in the corner. And if you look at this thing, it looks like a decorative fireplace. It doesn't look like you could even put a fire in the thing. It's not very big, maybe a little over a gallon bucket of paint size chamber. But they had pinyon wood to burn, and I stacked it up, pyramided it in there and lit that. Now it was like 15 degrees outside, 20 degrees outside. We ended up having the door open most of the evening because I got that fire going, and it made it so hot in there we had to open the door because we were about to die. Pinyon wood burns really hot too, but part of it was that Indian stove that was built, the fireplace that was built in the corner of the room.
Well,
never forget that.
I mean, that's an impossible commodity. You got to ship it in. I mean, there's
pinyon wood?
No, coal.
Oh, coal, yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck finding it.
Well, anybody that burns coal in their engines on the West Coast, you got to ship it in. You got to buy 50-pound bags of this stuff. Costs a fortune.
Oh, let's see what else we got here.
Roy, good morning, Roy.
Have a good day.
Uh-oh. Well, now Dennis is going to be sick.
I hope not.
What is she going out for?
Well, she works on Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, so she's going to go to work sick. Okay.
Well,
Gail?
she's feeling much better today than she was yesterday and the day before.
Okay. Well, we'll let her go then.
Apparently enough that she could actually go to work today.
But
she didn't go to work yesterday at her primary job. She's got 2 jobs.
Well, somebody's got to pay for that railroad.
Well,
Bill's liking that. He's going, hey, I hadn't thought of that.
I've thought of
hey,
it.
honey, you ever think about getting a second job to help support the railroad?
Which the other half would get one job to help support the railroad.
Yeah. My wife just retired last November, almost just a year ago. And she's loving that so much. There's no way in the world she'd take another job.
Yeah,
She'd starve to death first.
sure.
Do what?
I think it's time for Bill to show us his railroad.
I was just getting ready to say, Bill needs to
Yeah.
take the camera over and show us what he's working on.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot this week. I've been traveling again for work. I got a little bit done. I did have some fun though, and I'll show here the railroad in a minute. But you know, when I travel, I try to go to hobby shops, you know, brick and mortar that are on the way, and found a couple of them down in North Carolina. Both of them I'd been to years ago, but got a bunch of stuff, like we were talking earlier, the little knickknacks, like a whole bunch of O-scale shovels, axes, detail parts, some HO stuff. But one thing that I found at a hobby shop, and I won't show it today because I already got it buried, is some ON30 stuff. The guy must have sold a collection and was kit bashing a little SW into an, you know, like a first gen diesel narrow gauge engine. Got a whole bunch of parts for that and a variety of other things for like $20. And it's motorized. I haven't taken it apart yet or put power to it to see. You know, I might get lucky. It might even be DCC. I don't know what he's done under the hood, but I'm going to have to check it out. But, you know, I had some fun this week. Otherwise, let's see what I've been doing. And it's just kind of hard to see as I'm working up on the scenery on the above the ON30. So adding in all of the little super tree sprigs just to make like the brush in and along the edge of the forest. So later today, I'm going to come in and I'll be able to ballast the last piece of ON30 up on this piece. Then this weekend, I'll come in and I'll finish up the scenery up top so that I can go down low and then start working on the O scale or O standard up to the bridge. What I did last week after the show is I started to get more of the detail scenery done around the bridge, grass put in on the edge of the cliff, finished up the ballast. So getting a few things done there. And then I got this part done on the O scale standard. So I got my ballast in, got all of my scenery details done down here. Ran some trains on this last week. It looks pretty good. I had some fun doing some videoing. Mostly finished up here. What I have to do yet is I've got to take those little pieces of super tree material and I'll put in some of the underbrush in and along here. And kind of the same thing over here. I've got to do the little bit of brush up on this hillside. Otherwise, I've got my dirt road finished. So this has been moving along. I haven't done anything else over here. Just was running trains last week and kind of see I've got a train kind of backed up on the siding a little bit here because I was running that after I got everything done last week. Just that's in some future videos, but got my little grade crossing pretty well done. Might do a little bit more on it, but that's what I got accomplished this week.
Boy, it sure looks amazing, Bill.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
It does. Yeah.
I like that, all the ground cover you got in between the vertical rock strata. That looks good.
Yeah, it's an area where it was, you know, the slope wasn't excessive, so it made sense putting some in there. You know, you can kind of stand back here and give you a little bit of a perspective just on the layout and how it looks.
Bill,
Yeah.
Sparky wants to know what you mean. What do you mean when you take some of the super tree material? Does he use them for twigs and fallen trees?
Yes, I will use them for twigs and fallen trees as well. A lot of what I've got for tree material is stuff that I got off a bush that was dead out at the side of the yard. So I'll use that for a lot of stuff. But here, let me come back over here. So real quick. So you can see in and around this scene, a lot of the ground cover is busted up, ground up, painted up super tree material. So it does make really nice ground cover in and around where you're doing lumber operations. And then I'll take some of the offcuts that I've had when I give the trees the haircut and sprinkle them around to make it look like offcut branches as well. And then like in the piles over here, you know, those are roots that I got out of the garden, as well as super tree material and just pieces of twigs all busted up. So mostly natural materials, you know, in for the ground cover details.
That's good.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like I say, I so wish I could be at that show when you take it up there, because you're going to have a crowd around that thing.
Boy,
I will have fun with that. And I've got the application in now for the Richmond Greenberg train show in January. I haven't gotten anything back from them yet that says, you know, it's been accepted, but I'm hoping, because that's not too far. That's only about 8 miles from the house. You know, I can get a trailer or a U-Haul and take this. And it's easy. 2 people can easily lift one of the pieces because it's super lightweight. You know, it's not heavy at all. And I already know how I'll ship it. I'll get some of those pool noodles, cut them up and put them down at the base just so that I've got bumpers between the modules as I'm transporting them. And I'll get some of that thick foam padding put underneath the wheel, so I got a little shock absorbance, you know, as I'm carrying it off. But I've got it pretty well planned out. I'm just hoping, you know, I get accepted so I can show this thing off, and then once I get it there, that it runs well.
yeah.
I'm sure it will.
Now,
Yeah,
how
I'm sure it will too.
now,
Yeah.
when you go to put that in a trailer or a truck?
Yeah, I will never put it in the back of a pickup. You know, I would put it in the back of like you know, a longer trailer or a U-Haul. You know, the size, it doesn't take up that much space, and that center module, you know, isn't even 6 feet in length, so it can rotate. So you know, I only need about 10 feet in length to be able to get well, actually more than that, about 12 feet in length to be able to get everything in one shot. And then I'd have plenty of room underneath it for some bins for materials to take, you know, repairs, stuff that I would need, extra freight cars and engines, you know, just those kinds of things. So it
Now,
shouldn't take too much to get it there.
how would you attach your strapping to hold it down to your trailer? You have eye bolts in it to strap it down, or?
No, that's what I would be using pool noodles for, is to give me a cushion in between the two. You know, in a trailer, to keep it from bouncing around, I would have to, you know, I'd have to look at, see what they've got for anchor points and whatever the trailer would be. But, you know, I'd be able to ratchet it in.
Okay.
That would be my biggest concern, is the trailer itself. How bouncy are the leaf springs on the trailer?
Yeah, that would be the main thing, which is why I would go to like Walmart or Target or someplace, and in their craft areas where you can like get the thick foam padding to like make your own pillows and seat cushions. Yeah. I would get big sections of that so that the casters of the wheels on each module would sit on that, so that I would have a little bit of a foam give so that it would kind of help keep it from bouncing around too much. It would absorb some of that. So I've got it kind of thought out, and, you know, it may or may not work. We'll find out when I get the opportunity.
Yeah, well, you still have to ratchet it down, but it would help absorb the vibration.
Yep.
That's what's going to bother you more than the bouncing. Yep. I found that with the airplanes, it's the vibration that's going to wear stuff out, not the bouncing part. But you don't want it coming loose. If you don't get it down tight, you don't want it bouncing to the point that something comes loose and then it falls over. Sideways. Because one of the guys in our club, actually he was the president, had just bought a trailer, and he was bringing his airplane to the field, and his son had hooked up the trailer. His adult son had hooked up the trailer, and it came loose on his way to the field. He had the safety chains on it, so it caught that, but he looks in the mirror and it's going toward the ditch. And so he whips it back, and when he whipped it back, it got it up on one wheel. And then, of course, when it came down and bounced around, the trailers were real light. They were enclosed trailers. But he just had the spare tire sitting in the trailer. and it bounced around inside and just munched his airplane. He had nothing left of that airplane when he got to the field.
Oh.
So you want to tie it down so it can't bounce around. That's not a good thing.
And definitely not keep the spare tire in there.
Yeah,
that's the lesson learned from that one.
Well, too, and the biggest thing I would think with because you're going to have all your loose stuff in boxes anyway or in totes.
Yeah.
Your biggest thing is going to be the structure itself. The trees and stuff are not going anywhere. They're lightweight enough. Vibration and bouncing is not going to bother those. I would think it would be the plaster would be the biggest concern. But if you strap it down, I don't think it'll go. I don't think you'll have any problem with it.
Are your structures loose on the modules, or are they fixed?
They're glued in. The only thing I'd have to take off would be basically the automobiles and the freight cars and engines. Even the figures that I've got on here, they're stuck in through florist wires in their feet. They're not going to go anywhere. And if they would happen to, twist or bounce off, that's not a big deal. So yeah, everything on here should ride pretty well. It'll just be a few detail pieces will come off that I can put back on once I get it to wherever I'm going and get it put back together again.
Well,
you figure that was solid and it'll give way. There'll always be something on there, I'm sure.
Well, the foam, all the foam that you use for the substructure is going to help absorb a lot of that vibration too.
Yeah.
Even though it's glued down and everything, it's still going to deaden that vibration when it's coming up to the plaster. And that's the part that you're going to have to worry about the vibration for it cracking and stuff like that. But the way you've done it, I don't think you're going to have any problems with it as long as you strap it down good.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have too much. And then the Sculptamold, being fiber-based, that stuff is incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
So and the plaster's on top of that. So unless the Sculptamold would start to fracture, the plasters, there's not going to be any issue with the plaster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bernard, like I say, if you strap it down where it can't go sideways or roll back and forth, I don't think you'll have a problem.
Yeah, it'll be strapped down tight. It's not going to go anywhere. There'll be connections in between the different layouts using, again, pool noodles so that I've got a cush. So even if they kind of bump into each other, there's pool noodles that are my bumpers. So it's not going to transmit.
Yeah, what you don't want it doing is rubbing on something.
Yep.
Yeah, I had problems with that when I was transporting airplanes. Is a strap or the side of the trailer. If anything got over there just even a little bit, it's that constant vibration that would just wear stuff out. It's like sanding it down. So that's the main thing: is keep it away from the sides of the trailer and from anything else in there.
Yep.
It doesn't have tire bouncing around in their head.
Yeah. Don't put any tires back there.
Keep the tires out. Keep anything loose out of the way.
Bernard, who didn't have a spare tire vision in their head. Oh yeah, I told him. I said, "Man, I wish you'd have taken pictures when you opened the door, because it looked like a cement mixer in there with that tire going around like that." And those balsa wood airplanes wouldn't have a chance in there. So yeah, it would have been pretty funny.
And just toothpicks everywhere by the time that got done.
Okay, here, Bill. Here's a technical question. Steven says, when he uses hairspray on his trees, the flocking falls off like a month later. I use spray adhesive now.
Yeah. So for what I use, and I've got trees that have been years and the flocking doesn't fall off. So for like all of the stuff that I'm doing, I just use this, an advertisement for Suave hairspray, Max Hold. So, I'll soak down either the super tree material or the furnace filter material. Then I'll go in, I'll add my flocking. Then I'll come back and spray it again. Then I might add another layer of, again, the Woodland Scenics ground cover or the needles, static grass, and then perhaps another quick spritz. But I've got stuff that, I built years ago for trees, and I don't lose anything. I can literally take these. I can shape the crap out of them, and nothing falls off. This stuff really does a good job.
And that's a pump bottle, right? Not an aerosol.
Pump bottle. Yep, pump bottle.
So you're probably getting a little bit more of the material in the can out onto the tree as opposed to an aerosol.
Yeah, yeah, and I hold it, reasonably close. And instead of just one little spritz, when I'm doing a tree, I might, hand spritz it 6-7 times to make sure I got the whole tree covered. Then put the stuff on, and then again, 2 or 3 more times just to give it that overspray. So they get plenty of glue, and once it sets, this stuff doesn't fall off. Now, if you're in a really humid environment, maybe that could cause some problems after a while because it would cause the glue to weaken. But once the humidity goes away, it would reset, and it just stuff doesn't fall off. Again, I haven't had any problems with it.
I've not tried any hairspray yet. I've used the spray adhesive, but it works good, but it's also messy because once it gets on your finger, then you got to stop and take something to, paint thinner or something to get it off your hands so everything else isn't sticking to you.
Yeah.
So
I go through, during the pandemic, Mrs. bought like a case of these. So I go through a lot of gloves. They work perfect for the hobby application. So you're not gluing your fingers or covering them with paint, whatever, so that's what I use.
Well, if you'd have seen when I was working as a plumber, and then of course the last almost 25 years or so doing home repair, my jeans were my rag that I'd wipe my hands on, and my hands are just calloused, and so these don't get hardly any time that I wear gloves, but every once in a while I'll put some on. But for me, I just go wash it off afterwards.
Yeah.
But gloves aren't a bad idea, especially if you're using stuff like plaster, anything like that, because it dries your skin out so bad, they can start cracking, that sort of thing. Okay, who else has got a question? Anybody else got a question? Oh, Bernard said he thinks driver has a lot to do with how things arrive. I agree with that
Very
too.
true.
I agree with that too. Seeing Dave. Dave says eye bolts beneath the module frames with ratchet straps with the padding beneath the rollers might work. Dave, that's exactly what I was picturing with something like that. The eye bolts run through the framing would hold it the best. That way you don't have to get up on your scenery or anything.
Yeah, and I'd never do anything on the top. It would all be base related to kind of keep it into position.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, they're not top heavy, even though it looks like they are with everything, but the weight is all, from a midpoint lower. Just with the pink foam board and the scenery, it's nothing. It weighs next to absolutely nothing on top.
Yeah.
Well, and Roy says just drive slower than usual.
Yeah. And
especially for the close one, because you don't have to be in a hurry. You're not going across country or anything, so you can take your time getting over there. Because I know that the trailer I had, it was a 12x6 and enclosed trailer, very lightweight, single axle, and it would bounce pretty good. But I found if I strapped stuff down, and I had a way of strapping the airplanes down, they would not be a problem with them. So I didn't have anything break. The only thing I ever had was a little wear marks sometimes when they get to touching something else. So Dennis, are you going to show us what you've been doing?
You want to see some turnouts?
Yeah. I want to see some turnouts. Are you going to continue to do your Monday live stream?
I plan on it. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to. I don't think I'm going to be able to this Monday because, unfortunately, I'm having to go to a funeral. Let me change my camera here.
Put this up from Roy.
If you watch my latest video, you've already seen, what I've done.
It would be an enclosed trailer. I'd have to rent one, but that's exactly what I would do.
Okay, now Dennis, did you modify those at all?
I can't say that they're modified. The only thing that I've done is that this coming out of this curved radius here going into this number 6 is that I cut that back as far as I dared cut it back so that, you know, the distance from this frog to that frog is really short. And then I've got a couple of crossovers in here, and those will probably eventually come back to right here. Get them as close as I can here, because I'm presuming that a lot of my operation, you know, that I'm going to be doing is going to take place in this area and then back over here in this area. So I apologize for spinning around like I am, but that's how that's all going to work. And I want to make sure that, you know, my splice is here, so I can't really have any tortoises. The closest one I've got is for this 3-way right here. And I got to get 2 tortoises back to back underneath.
Well, you can put it on that. Oh, you cut it out. Okay.
I've got it notched out. So.
You could go through the splice.
Yeah, I know I can, but I don't want to. You know, I've planned on that being, it's actually going to be further out here. And of course, I'll modify it however I have to, if I have to. But I think it's going to work the way I've got it worked out right now. So where I'm at now is I've got to figure out what's going to take place between here and here, where the spline is coming from around the backside of Silver Gulch there. And I hope that I will be able to get that figured out today. The 3-way, I'm going to go ahead and use this 3-way, which is the ugly one. I'm hoping my next one is better. I'm going to use it on this end right here to save space.
Well, I agree.
On your 3-way switches, what did you find was the issue? Was it just where you had an insulation cut?
Well, I've got a video coming out this Thursday. If you're really interested in the 3-way, I'm going to talk about it in detail. But I would say there's 2 main issues. This piece right here, that little bitty thing, it's a bear. And then where you put your rail joiners, this rail has to be notched away in order for that rail joiner to fit in there, because there's no space between this rail and that rail. And they don't tell you that in the instructions, because the instructions are all standard gauge. And knowing that this needs to be notched before you ever begin is half the battle. And this tie right here, that tie is not in the jig. I added that tie in so that I would have some place to put the rail joiners.
Dennis, how come you had to use a rail joiner there and just not a solid rail?
Well, because that's where the points are.
Oh, okay.
It's
the distance from, I can't, it's kind of hard to do with
Steve, it's because the points are so short there. Yeah. You don't have to see how short those are.
Oh, okay.
They're in real life, they're only 1.5 inches long, maybe. And so they don't flex well enough if you don't put a rail joiner on there and make it a hinge point.
Okay, I get it.
Now, the nice thing about it is because the way that point interfaces with this point as well, it's not a sharp turn. You know, it's still like a nice number 6, you know, gradual turn into that. The only thing you have to kind of take into consideration is that when your wheel set comes through here, is that how this guardrail interfaces. If you're not careful, if this isn't extremely sharp, that wheel set as it comes through here will yank over to the right. So getting that extremely sharp is about half the battle. And same thing with this piece right here. It's kind of hard to see, but you got to get a wheel set on either side of this. So
that's the piece I was talking about, Dennis. It was the toughest for me.
Yeah, to
Was
me,
that-
it was this one. This was the one that was the worst one for me.
Yeah.
You need a mini pointer.
Yeah, I actually have one. I didn't think to pick it up before I came in here. But
Well,
I'm
Dave,
hoping,
NSF and Scale said that was going to be some impressive track work, and I agree wholeheartedly. It will.
Oh,
It'll look
yeah,
really good when
sure.
it's finished.
yeah, I'm hoping that it looks as good, or that it runs as good as it's going to look. I think it is going to look pretty cool. You know, I've got crossover ties. I think will come all the way through here up to like maybe this area. So those will all be one tie. And then there'll be an area in here where, you know, it'll be like standard tie length and then crossover ties through here as well.
And
I just hope it runs smooth.
Jeff wants to know what kind of wood you're using for the layout.
This is 1/2-inch plywood, and I couldn't tell you what. I mean, it's the AC that I can get in my town. I think it's 5-ply. I don't know,
Yeah, looks like it.
and that's pretty much all that's available to me unless I special order. But I think I can get away with a 1-inch. Actually, not a 1-inch, a 1-foot piece that'll interface here, because that's going to have to be cut again once I figure out how the 3 tracks coming through here interface up to here. That's my goal for this weekend, is to get that piece of wood laid in here and the 3-way put in and make all of this where I know exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah,
Of course, I only have one day this weekend. This is like the 3rd weekend in a row that I've had multiple other things going on, and I just haven't been able to do much of anything. So everything's pretty slow at the moment.
Bernard, I'll give you the short answer. No.
He wanted to know if Steve was going to build an N scale 3-way.
I did it scale double crossover. It looked really good, but it didn't work.
I'm not sure that I've showed this yet, but you know, I've been operating, and so when a locomotive comes up here right now, I have added this, which is just long enough to be able to pull pretty much. I think I've got my program set up to where I could have a maximum of 4 cars in this area. So the locomotive and 4 cars will fit on this little, I don't know what you call that, a jetty or something like that. Just come out there. And then the locomotive then can come into here and turn around and go back to staging.
Well, now there's a simple turntable.
Yeah, that is cool.
All I did is took one of my pointers that I'm not using and drilled it through a piece of 1/4-inch masonite, which happens to be the exact same height as my cork here. Glued that on there, and it's dead, which, you know, I've considered. I think I could very easily make it work by putting a PCB tie and laying it into the bottom of this and then laying it into the wood, where one rail is connecting here and one rail is connecting here, so it wouldn't matter which direction it was going. But I don't think it really isn't worth the effort to do that, because I don't plan on that being that way for that long. Eventually, I will have my Y built here, and I will turn around on the Y, and then I also have a turntable planned for in there as well. But that's down the road a bit still.
I would think you could take something like a brass or copper sheet and make some lightweight wipers off the end of the rail coming out, so that when you turn it around, they make contact on the ends of the turntable.
Yeah, that's an idea
Something
too.
like that, and then you wouldn't even have to have a reversing deal on there. All you'd have to do is swing it around, because it would change. It would change as you turn it around. And the locomotive wouldn't know the difference because it's sitting on dead track until it gets
Dennis,
lined up again.
was that a movie screen that we saw a minute ago?
That?
No, up high. You back in the
Up
back
high.
a couple minutes ago. You looked like a movie screen.
Oh no, that's like a little short wall that he's got set up that's right behind him where he's at now.
Okay, it looked like a movie screen.
A movie screen? I don't know what.
On the other side of the wall that's right behind you, Dennis, where your workbench is, the other side of the wall, or that right there, yeah.
Yeah.
That?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Okay. I get it.
that's where the railroad's going to come across.
It's just Steve, it's just a short wall there in the middle of the room.
Yeah. I will make a quick note about this in case anyone's interested. This is the Digitrax LNWI, which is a Wi-Fi module. Super simple.
Yep.
I
got one.
set this up in about 30 seconds while Claude and Steve were talking about baseball this morning.
Yep. It is very simple.
Absolutely
I bought one too.
painless way to run trains on your cell phone.
Yeah. Well, it gives you up to 4 more throttles too. So if you have people over, they can just download the app, the throttle app, and use that. Bernard wants to know if you used camo or dark brown rattle can on your track.
I used, I don't think I've got it here. Rail, what was it?
I was thinking
I
you
used
mixed
Tamiya. It's actually in one of my videos, but I can't remember what color. Whole brown, whole red, and some brown mixed together. But it's Tamiya, and it's like one part paint to 10 parts alcohol is what I use to paint the Silver Gulch with.
Because you airbrushed it on, correct?
Yeah, I use the airbrush. First time I've ever done that. So, and it was relatively easy, and I'm really happy with the results at the moment.
Now, Bernard, I use the camo, dark camo brown rattle can paint on mine. That's real easy. And then I just, I wipe off the rail. I'll paint a 2 or 3 foot section, and I'll wipe it off with paper towel on top, and then I'll come back after it dries and clean it to a finished clean. But that works really well for me, and it looks good. Once you ballast and everything, if I was doing O gauge, I would probably go in and do like Bill did. I think you went in and touched up each tie, right?
Yeah, everyone individually.
It shows up more in a bigger scale, but in HO, it's really, that'd be so time consuming to do that many ties, and you don't really notice it.
For a big lab, too. For my
what is it?
ON30, I painted every one of those ties by hand too. But again, to your point, it's not that much track.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this? A urine sample? Looks like you need to see the doctor, dude.
Yeah. This is how much alcohol to pigment that I actually used. And it's whole red, Tamiya whole red with, I can't remember if I did 50-50. I know I mentioned it in the video, but those are the 2 colors mixed together. I think I went 50-50. I can't remember. And then just a whole bunch of alcohol.
Well, Roy says that looks like you're shooting whiskey this morning.
I was real happy. And what I like about it versus the rattle can is you get a really thin coat. And then, of course, I also plan on, in like all of my highly visible areas like Silver Gulch, I'll go in and because I'm looking at this as a primer, because it's actually, that's what all that Tamiya XF is primer. is go in and also create other colors later down the road. And like all the wood ties that I went to the trouble of putting underneath my turnouts, I believe all I will have to be able to do is go in with like a Q-tip and some alcohol and hit that wood, and I will be able to get rid of, you know, some of this. I'm sure I won't get rid of all of it, but I think I will get, because I had three different stain colors on the wood. I think I will get some of that variance back, because right now it's all this color. But I think the second I hit that with a little bit of alcohol and a Q-tip, I will get that variant of color come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you probably would. Well, that's our hour, guys.
Oh, it is.
Again, it went by really fast. And I wouldn't be in a hurry to get out of here, except I've got to be at the chiropractor's office in 30 minutes, and it takes about 30 minutes to get there. So I need to get out of here and see if I can get my back to feeling good so I can get back on the layout.
Definitely.
Anyway, thanks, guys, for being here. Steve?
Yeah.
Be careful on the bus.
Oh, for sure.
And Dennis and Bill, good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
And everybody in chat, glad you came, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good weekend and a good week.
And a good Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Everybody have a good weekend.